What you mean by there's no way for you to make those determinations, correct?
Well, the records do not show any indication of him having any charting.
Well, there are no records from that night, are there?
There are no records whatsoever.
That doesn't mean that Dr. Murray didn't obtain that information, does it?
Well, in medicine, just as it is essential, we don't store things in our minds. I mean, we cannot take care of patients if we just say, "Oh well, I knew this is what he told me or what she told me." We have to document things, and by documenting things, it's not just a tedious thing we have to do to keep records. It actually allows us to take better care of patients because it allows us to follow trends and remember, hey, this was, his blood pressure. When I first saw him, we take care of patients that have really bad high blood pressure. They come in and we do a procedure. Their baseline blood pressure may be 180, and then after we do something, it goes down to 120. That may be a normal blood pressure, but that to us, because of the charting, we are following a trend.
Overruled. It is. The answer remains.
Now, you prepare a record for every patient you see or do a procedure on, correct?
Absolutely.
And that's so that you will have it to remember and you can refer back to it. Is that correct?
That is not the only reason.
Okay, well, it's also so other people could refer to it and know what you did, correct?
That is one of the reasons. Right?
Now, as a result of Dr. Murray not having recorded everything he did at the precise time he did and all of the measurements that he may have taken that night and the monitoring information that he may have gotten from the pulse oximeter, and the fact that he didn't record it means that you can't interpret it. Is that correct?
Not necessarily, no. It actually means that he doesn't have the information. It's very easy to forget details. I mean, these are a lot of details, and it's important. We as clinicians, taking even care of that one patient that we're doing a procedure on, we still look at trends while we're doing it. We don't just rely on memory. So I would disagree with that. I would say that information is imperative not just for review later, but as we are taking care of patients.
So you have concluded that as a result of Dr. Murray not writing this stuff down as he went along, that he doesn't know it. Is that your conclusion?
Overruled.
I'm saying that there is no good way to really be able to follow patterns, and it can be a recipe for disaster.
Have you ever been constantly with the patient, basically over a 9-hour period of time?
Absolutely.
With just one patient?
I think I have, yes.
Okay, and when you're with that patient, what types of situations would that occur?
That would occur in the intensive care unit when you have really all it takes is one patient who's critically ill, who has multi-organ failure, who is gravely ill, requiring life support. That one patient can sometimes take up to 9 hours, sometimes even longer, and your presence as a clinician there throughout the procedure is vital. Even if the clinician, say it's me, is actively doing procedures to help resuscitate the patient, there's always a nurse that is documenting at every few minute intervals what is happening, what are the vital signs, and in addition to that, they're actually taking notes, what the patient looks like, what is happening at the bedside. So I have been in that situation.
And are you dictating those notes for the nurse to take down?
No, when the nurses chart, it's not being dictated by me. I do dictate notes, okay. But nurses do that spontaneously.
And are you doing that every 5 minutes?
In the intensive care unit,
Yes.
we have monitoring and we have nursing staff that are recording that.
And are you recording your thoughts every 5 minutes about what you've observed?
I don't need to record. You mean on writing?
Yes.
I don't need to do that because I already have that record provided to me by the mechanism of having intensive care nurses.
And are you referring to it every 5 minutes?
I very often need to refer to it very frequently to really remind me of the trend. Sometimes when you're taking care of patients, you kind of are in the moment and you need to actually look at charting to really figure out what happened before to get a better picture because you are in the moment doing a certain procedure. So that's why it is imperative to have charting.
And so it's your opinion that as Dr. Murray is tending to Michael Jackson during that 9-hour period of time, there's no way he could have remembered what he did or what he observed unless he wrote it down when he did it.
I'm saying it is standard of care to write it down and that it's an egregious violation of the standard of care when you are using sedatives like propofol and not keeping any record and not charting very basic monitoring of the patient.
Okay, now, once again, we have another egregious violation, but that egregious violation, the fact that Dr. Murray did not write down that at 2 o'clock he gave 2 milligrams of lorazepam, that didn't kill Michael Jackson, did it?
I'm not just referring to the writing of of what he gave, but the writing of the vital signs. What was the heart rate at that time? What was his breathing pattern? What was his oxygen saturation? There's more to it than just the medications.
Okay, the fact that he didn't write that down at 2 o'clock. Whatever his observation may have been after he gave the 2 milligrams of lorazepam, the fact he didn't write down his vital signs, he didn't write down his blood pressure, he didn't write down his pulse rate, or what the pulse oximeter said with respect to oxygen saturation, that didn't kill Michael Jackson, did it?
Well, if you read my report, there's a number of things. This was just one of many violations. So it is really, again, a combination of many factors. You're just pointing to charting and saying, well, did the charting have, it was directly responsible.
I've got other things to go through,
Sure.
too. But that the failure to chart was not a cause of death, was it?
The failure to chart was a contributing factor.
It's just an indication of what you consider bad medicine.
It clearly is bad medicine.
But it's not what killed Michael Jackson, is it?
I can't answer that based on...
Isn't...
Wait, allow the question, allow the answer, please. Go ahead.
It's one of many factors. If you take that as an isolated event, just a physician that was just doing everything else right but was not charting, that would be very difficult to imagine. But it's really in the context of everything else that was done wrong.
Isn't what killed Michael Jackson the combination of a 2.6 level of propofol combined with a 0.169 level of lorazepam?
Well, clearly it was a combination of the propofol intoxication in addition to the lorazepam that he was on. That's correct.
It's the combination that killed him.
Right, but the circumstances, there were a number of circumstances that ultimately led to this. But yes, that was a direct cause.
What is it about that combination of drugs that you feel killed him?
Well, as I've discussed before, the additive effect of both Ativan, lorazepam, which is a sedative, in addition to propofol, can really have a profound effect. And that effect can be variable in different individuals. And again, that continuum between being just moderately sedated and going into a state of deeper sedation is very fragile and fine.
Okay, so that 2.6 level of propofol, when you add in that 0.169 lorazepam, the additive effect makes the propofol effect much more than it would have been at a 2.6 normally.
In terms of the blood levels, I'm going to defer discussion on blood levels because that is really more pharmacology and it's outside my realm. If you're just referring to blood levels alone, what I'm just would like to mention again is that that combination can be a lethal combination when you mix those drugs in a patient that is completely unmonitored and not being watched attentively.
So am I correct in assuming then that a level of propofol characterized as 2.6, that's beyond your expertise to know the strength of that?
I would like to defer that to a pharmacology expert to discuss the
Is it
details
beyond
of
your
that.
expertise?
That is something that I would rather have discussed by a pharmacologist.
Do you have no knowledge of it?
Well, I do have an understanding of levels, but I would rather have that discussed by a pharmacologist.
Okay. And would your answer be the same for the 0.169 level of lorazepam?
Yes.
Do you have the expertise to determine whether or not that's a high level or a low level?
Again, I would like to defer that to a discussion with the pharmacology experts.
Is that because you do not have the qualifications to answer that question?
No, it's that is an area that I would rather, I feel more comfortable not discussing and allowing for pharmacology expert to discuss.
Well, I don't know if your comfort level is really the issue that we're addressing here. I just wanted to know if you've made a conclusion in this case that the propofol plus the lorazepam that the lorazepam would accentuate the effect of the propofol. Would you also say the propofol accentuate the effect of lorazepam?
They work synergistically, that's correct.
Synergistically or additively?
Additively.
Okay, there's a difference between
Well,
them.
they can potentiate, one can potentiate the effects of the other.
Right. And it's an additive potentiation.
Correct.